Hi everybody, this is Katya welcoming you to a new video this evening, and tonight I would like to share a recent experience that I had in connection with a video by somebody else that I saw on YouTube recently. I'd like to share that and then also share some reflections about it. Basically, the video that I saw was made by a very beautiful young trans woman, and she had been through a lot of things. She was relating in this video how she had been through a lot of things. She had been abused as a child, and she had been taken advantage of by people as she got older. She had been raped. I'm not going to name any names. I'm not interested in that. But I did want to tell you that when I saw this video, it was very powerful and upsetting because she felt that she had come to the end of her rope and was actually very seriously considering taking her own life. So she had been through all these terrible things and felt that she had gotten to the point in her life that she was so weakened by them that she didn't really see any other way out. Now I hope and pray that she certainly did not take her own life. I don't know what has happened there. There hasn't been any additional information on her channel. But in any event, what I wanted to do tonight is share some reflections about that. I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, but I am a philosopher, and I wanted to do a little bit of applied philosophy here, basically to try to help her, but also other people in our community of this broad spectrum of people who are maybe transsexual or transgender or cross-dressers like me. I think a lot of people have been in a similar situation, and so I want to try to say something to help. Philosophy, at its best, can offer very crystal clear insights that people can do something with, and so I want to try to make a contribution there tonight in that way. Now, when I first heard about this, or when I first saw this video, a lot of things occurred to me, sort of things would occur to someone like me who's older than this young person, things that normally would occur to you to say to somebody who has just shared a message like that. So you might say things like, and I certainly in my comment on her channel said, well, you know, make sure that you're getting counseling. If people are harming you, you want to be able to defend yourself, but do it in a way that is reasonable. Don't go overboard, but make sure that you're protecting yourself and try to find people who can support you and, you know, have a community of trust, things like that, none of which I think is wrong. But I think that there's something else more philosophical to say that might in some ways be more helpful. I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there and suggest it. So in order to make this point, I want to go to a couple of examples that Friedrich Nietzsche gives in a work that I've discussed a little bit before, Die Götzen Dämmerung. That's the Twilight of the Idols. And I wanted to use these examples and then try to apply them to this case in a helpful way. So one example that Nietzsche gives is that of a young man who has started presumably drinking and carousing and has become rather dissolute to the point that he is growing pale, he's wasting away, and so the conventional wisdom of the people around him is, well, this person, if he's not careful, he's going to become, he's going to weaken himself, he's going to destroy himself, he's going to become degenerate or something like that. And Nietzsche says that that kind of explanation gets things backwards, because the young man already is weak, he already is degenerate if he's getting into drinking and carousing to the point that he starts to get pale and emaciated and the rest of it. So the conventional wisdom gets things exactly backwards, as it were. Another example he gives in the same vein is that of a political party that is contemplating a certain policy or a certain decision that a lot of people think is going to be a mistake, and that if this party makes this decision, then that will weaken the party, that will make it much less effective. That's at least the conventional wisdom. And Nietzsche's response to that, again, is that that explanation gets things absolutely backwards. Because if the party is already weak. If the party were strong, it wouldn't be making this mistake, or it wouldn't be considering this kind of foolish policy or this potentially disastrous decision. The fact that it is an indication of the fact that the party is already weak, has already lost a lot of its focus, and is in trouble. Now, what I want to do is take those examples and Nietzsche's point, but I want to take it in a more positive direction, and I want to apply it to this young woman's situation and perhaps the situation of some others of you who can relate to what she's saying. So remember that she feels that she has become so weakened by all these terrible things that have happened to her, and they are terrible. I'm not trying to deny that or say anything to the contrary. They are. If somebody has been abused as a child, if somebody has been raped or in any way assaulted, that's a terrible thing. And the people who have done those things, ideally, are one day going to need to answer for them, but they've happened. And I'm more interested in the way that she is understanding that in relation to herself. Her feeling is that she's weak and that these things are making her weaker. But let's think about that now from a Nietzschean perspective. And in fact, let's try to be more powerful as trans women and as cross-dressers and as these more exotic specimens of femininity that I have talked about before. So let's think about what happened here. Here we have a beautiful young woman who has survived being abused as a child multiple times, who has survived being assaulted multiple times, who has survived being raped, let's say, multiple times. According to her own testimony, she has been through all of these horrible experiences, and yet she has survived them. Now, I think that from a Nietzschean perspective, and I think we can understand this, the fact of the matter is not that she's weak, but that she's strong. Anybody who can survive all of those things, is not weak, but is already strong. So, unlike the young man or the political party in Nietzsche's examples, where here we have examples of things that were already weak, and so they get into all these kinds of problematic behaviors because they're already weak. Here we have a beautiful young trans woman who is already strong, and still is strong, because if she weren't, she would not have been able to survive all of those things that have happened to her. Now, in closing, I would like to say the following. It's one thing to survive, and it's another thing to overcome. In German, we can distinguish between the word überleben, which is to survive, and überwinden, which is to overcome. Now, I think, from a philosophical standpoint, that I hope will be helpful to her and other people like her, I think that we can say that she is someone who has the strength and is strong enough to have survived these situations. Diese Erfahrungen überlebt. She has survived them. But she has not overcome them yet. Sie hat diese Erfahrungen nicht überwinden. And so, in order to overcome them, and at some point, someday put them behind her, then I think that the things that some of us said earlier about getting counseling and being able to protect yourself or defend yourself in a reasonable way without going overboard, or finding a community of people that will be, whom you can trust and that can give you support, those things, I hope, will help her to overcome, with überwinden, what has happened to her. But the most important point tonight that I want to make for her and for other people like her who are in this very difficult situation is that if you have been through those things, if you have been through, no matter what it is, if you've been through personality disorder, if you're struggling with that, if you're dealing with an abusive relationship, or whatever it is, the fact that you're still here is an indication that you are very, very strong, and that you should take heart from that the way Nietzsche would recommend, I think, and the way Katja is recommending here, and then you can set about trying to overcome some of these problems, but don't ever second guess the fact that you have survived. Because you have survived, you are already very strong. So that's what I wanted to say tonight, and thank you for being patient. I just felt that I was so moved by this video and touched by it that I felt that it was necessary for me to try to say something, and maybe to try to say a little bit more than my initial reaction to it. I hope that you'll find it interesting, and maybe if you agree with what I say, and there's somebody like this that you know, maybe you could share the same kind of advice. But the most important thing is for us all to be supporting one another, to be helping one another, and to listen. So that's all I have to say tonight. And this is Katja, and I wish this young woman and anybody else who is in a similar situation, I wish all the best for them. And everybody else, I hope that you have a good night, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Bye-bye.